And we are live. All right, amazing. Thank you so much for doing this, Jack. I'm really excited to meet you and get to know you. I love to start with very directly. What is it like to be you these days?
Great question. That's a new one. I haven't had that one. What's it like to be me? I can't complain for one. It's always life's a challenge, right? For everyone at different points in their life and careers, life's always a challenge. But I'm someone who accepts that life is also it's a bit cliche. It's a bit of a journey. And as I might get to later, when you're going through a tough period like now, certain things right now might not be great, but certain
Mm,
things might be really good. You reflect back and go, well, you got through that. That's much worse than whatever's going on right now, so you're going to be okay.
mm, okay, okay. I like when people start with, it's sometimes it's a challenge. I had a
Mm.
I love how different people answer these questions. I had a person on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, I think, or maybe even a month ago. He's like, well, from the outside, I have like the glamorous life. Like clients send private jets to pick me up to go work with them. I'm like, whoa, like okay, that's why. And then he was just like, but on the inside, it's just life. It's like I wake
Mm.
up, I do this, and I'm like, okay, that's a great insight to have into a life like that. That from the outside seems so wild and extravagant and private jets and all of this, and then it's just life. There's challenges, there's this, and you kind of just deal with it and move on. you know
Yeah, perception's huge, right? You can see someone, and I talk a lot about this at the moment, especially this month being mental health month. You see someone who's seemingly doing well and really happy. That might be just what's on the face of it. They might actually have real challenges and you know struggling in many ways.
yeah, yeah. All right, what is your life about? What do you care about in life?
Ooh, deep question as well. I'm loving these. These are great. I guess I speak a lot about going back and finding out my core, and I reference Simon Sinek sometimes and talk about what's my why, what's my purpose, my driver. Um, I'm someone who's always had a very strong drive to live my life as full as I can. Um, and sometimes I've had to make selfish decisions so I can do that, and different decisions as well. My wife and I, for example, we don't have kids. It's not something that either of us want because it's not something we desire for one, but also it would go against the lives we want to live.
Mm,
But from a professional sense and from a personal one, my why is very much to support the development and growth of others and to be able to inspire those that might be struggling themselves or going through adversity and help shape their journey to a better future. And looking back on every single part of my career, every job I've had has had an element of leadership and coaching and developing people. And that's really what I talk about gives you the fizz, gives you the buzz, gets you up in the morning. Um, for me, that's what sort of gives me drive from a
mm,
professional sense. And from a personal, on top of what I've already said, I guess, is to experience as much as I can.
mm,
I've often gone out and gone on crazy trips because it looks different, it looks fun, it looks adventurous. And my poor mum, bless her, who's back in the UK, she probably hasn't enjoyed it so much because I often put myself in situations I shouldn't. But for me, it's like, yeah, that looks different, fun, so I'm gonna go and do it.
okay, yeah, I love that. And I'm definitely gonna circle back to that. um Towards some of the trips. I would love to hear some of your. I've had a bunch of those because I would say I'm a very much on a similar lane as that, like crazy trips and living fully and doing crazier things. You said that you've kind of always had this like drive to live fully. Where do you think that comes from?
I'm not sure entirely because there was definitely a shift in my teen years, I think, when I was a teenager, because I think from memory, when I was growing up, when I was really, really young, I had an image of sort of almost white picket fence, 2.4 children, nice husband, nice kids, and that's quite naive, I think, in many ways. But I definitely had that as an image in my very young years. I think my parents divorcing when I was a relatively young age would have
Mm,
affected that.
Yeah.
because it goes, oh, family isn't perfect. Hang on, is this really what I want? And then in the teen years, seeing other people around me do the normal things and going, actually, that's not what I want to do. And constantly kind of going against the grain was just part of my DNA in many ways. And that definitely happened in my teen years, and not being the normal convention necessarily, going, well, you should go to university. Why? I don't want to. I want to go and learn the world, and I'm going to get knocked down. I'm going to learn from getting knocked down. Um, that was very much against convention in many ways. So it's been that driver from a relatively young age in my early mid teens to kind of go, this is my path. And some call it determination, some call it ambition. I'm also aware it's quite stubborn too. So it's a bit of a balance.
Okay. Okay. Nice. How was your okay, you already mentioned that your parents got divorced when you were relatively young.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up for you?
It was certainly without its not without its challenges. It wasn't a simple divorce. There was a big family split. My mother's side took the side of my father, and which added complications. So it was very
Oh,
ostracizing in that way. And you learn a lot as when you're growing up.
yeah.
Plus with a single parent, with my mum,
Yeah.
and she did absolutely everything over and above to support myself and my sister and give us the best education, give everything. I owe a lot to her for doing that. But I think because of that dynamic, it was, and especially in my teens, my sister moved out, and it was just mum and I. And you have to grow up quite quickly, especially as a guy, as a boy at the time. You have this drive to step up and be the man of the house, and you're so not ready. You're so not ready because you're still a teenager, still a child in many ways. And I was given the ability the trust to do that in some ways, of which I'm really grateful because it made me grow up very fast in some ways. But there are other ways that I didn't grow up at all, and that showed when I dropped the ball on certain things and made mistakes, and
Hmm.
which you do. So it was definitely there were challenges in my upbringing. I'm sure I was a challenge as well in many ways. And there was big events during my teens. I remember having a major car accident when I was 17, um, where I didn't walk away, I had to go to hospital, but I was essentially fine. But I fell asleep at the wheel after working at a festival, and I just hadn't slept. Wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing anything else. I just hadn't slept. And my effective stepfather, I was following him, and he ripped me out of the car because it was literally my legs and then a tree. And the car was all smoking, and I was very, very lucky. But he, as far as I'm concerned, saved my life that day. And yet he was someone who was extremely unreliable. He was an alcoholic, and he had issues with
Oof.
drugs and everything. But he was someone with a huge heart. So again, a father figure that I looked up to that was very, very flawed. So I had to
Hmm.
step up and growing up in that environment at the same time. So there was lots and lots of challenges. But at the same time, with all of that, and I say this to this day with challenges that I've had a whole life, I'm grateful for all of it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
change any. I wish he was still around. That's unfortunately he passed away. But in terms of my, you know, growing up, upbringing, challenges, people trying their best or people dropping the ball, I wouldn't change any of it because it's made me to who I am now. And I'm not certainly not perfect, that's for sure. No one is, but it's builds you to who you are today.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally resonate and I totally agree with all of it. Where did this mindset for you come from? That you are grateful for all of the challenges, or also grateful for all of the bad stuff, quote unquote bad stuff, or like the stuff that feels awful when you're going through it, and a lot of people get kind of hung up on, right? So
Hmm.
how did you transform it into I'm grateful for this?
I think I've had different steps in my life depending on the events that have happened, where I've had time to. People talk about getting over something, right? And you go on a journey of reflection, you go on a journey of resolution, Some things can't be resolved. That's unfortunate. As much as we want to, people pass away or relationships break down where you just get to a point of you can't resolve them. So you have to find a way forward yourself. So I've had various points in my life where I've had to just stop and go, okay, is this going to be the benefit to me to hang on to this resentment, anger, or upset? Or do I need to move forward? Do I need to go and talk to someone about it? Talk to a professional or talk to my close friends.
Mm.
Um, it's ironic. I talk about, with yourself now in podcasts about events in my life that, of course, trauma or were hard at the time or whatever it might be. And I go, but I reflect back and grateful for it. And it doesn't define who I am, and I move forward. And yet I'm comfortable talking about it. It's that, let go of it, but you're talking still. But I think it's because I'm comfortable with it that it's part of my history and everything that I can talk about it. I reference a major part of my life in my early 30s between 2019 and 2020, where I had a few health issues. I suffered 3 strokes, which I didn't know at the time that's what they were. We found out what they were later. And I had heart surgery to fix them, to stop them from happening effectively. And after this, I had serious complications following the heart surgery where I very much faced my mortality, and had to say goodbye to my mother on the phone and risk not waking up and all sorts of less than fun things. And going through that does set a different mindset in your mind. Not
Mm.
at the time. It takes time
Mm.
because you go through different stages after that event of denial, which I did a lot of, anger, which I felt quite a lot of, going, I'm fine, leave me alone, push back on everything. Um, and then after a time, you start to set little goals of going back to normality, and that's
Mm.
when you can take reflect. When these events happen, it's giving you the time to redefine your identity, but you got to come back to a sense of normality plan and go forward. And then you can reflect back on them with a gratitude of going, okay, that was a great part of my journey. It was really tough, but I'm actually better for it in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think yeah, it's in the reflection. Would you say that talking about it itself helps with processing it and moving past it and becoming more grateful for all of it and kind of solidifying?
To a point, I think people definitely should talk about it. If they go through challenges or adversity or trauma, talking about it is so important. But there is a danger that I think it's only become more evident in society, especially the last couple of years, maybe even post COVID. That might have been, I don't know, that might have been a real trigger of hanging on to it,
Mm.
hanging on to the trauma, hanging on to the event, and therefore you're talking about it all the time, but you're not actually moving forward. So talking about it actually becomes a detriment because you're actually still hanging on to it.
Mm.
So it needs to come to a point where you're talking about it, you're opening up, you're getting it out of here onto paper or to friends or to a professional. But where's the what next?
Mm.
Where's the next step? Or okay, let's put a plan together. Let's focus on a couple of wins to help step forward. Because if you don't have that and you're just talking and regurgitating the same thing over and over, you're actually just almost eating yourself up, not
Yeah.
inside, outside in many ways. And that can be a bit of a danger. So it's talking with purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I that's a great point. That's a great point. I think a lot of people get stuck in talking, talking, talking and be just stuck in it instead of moving past it. The reason why I ask is I think s- going out and speaking out about my journey and about being bullied and about, dealing with social anxiety and dealing with this definitely has helped to move past it even more and like really take away all of the power from it. And now it's just stories that kind of happened, but there's no emotional charge. Whereas before there was this like big emotional charge. And the way you explained it, with now being grateful for all of the crap even. I have a I think I learned this concept somewhere. I don't think I invented it. but I've been talking about it a bunch. I wrote a piece on it in a book, as in an anthology as well. This concept of getting a gift wrapped in sandpaper, right? So in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's like, oh, what's this? I don't want this. Like it looks kind of ugly, you know, and you try to unpack it, it hurts because it scratches you. But so it's really tough, you know, and then you start unpacking it, and maybe there's a lot of layers and whatnot, and it
Mm.
hurts and it's tough, and you want to give up a couple times because it doesn't work. But once you finally completely unwrap it and you open it, it's like, whoa, okay. So this has been this amazing thing, and for me, that gift came in the form of social anxiety and being bullied, and you know, struggling with some challenges as a teen as well, like this. And really, by unwrapping it and overcoming the social anxiety, has given me the biggest gift of caring for people a lot more, caring about social anxiety, gave me the direction of, okay, I'm going to start a business in mental health and helping other people with social anxiety. And then, you know, now it's turning into a podcast, it turned into speaking on stages, and turned into being in books, it turned into traveling the world and helping people. I just received a message a couple of minutes before we went on this podcast. Somebody just sent me a message like, hey, I've been struggling with social anxiety and your videos really helped in the past year, right?
Amazing.
And so that's the gift that now I
Mm.
have.
Yeah.
Because but in the beginning, like, it felt like a curse, you know. So
Mm.
like it
I
really
think um,
wasn't enjoyable.
I think you find, in my experience at least, people who have a passion for, and that I talk about that fizz, right? That drive to help and support and have emotional intelligence and want to create psychological safety and of all these traits, none of them, and myself included, I would say have had a smooth ride.
Mm,
Every one of them have encountered adversity and challenges because again it's that sandpaper gift that you like you mentioned, which I love that metaphor by the way, because it gives you that perspective to come out of it and be able to see things in a different way versus those who don't, versus those who haven't been through it. You know, you mentioned being bullied. I was bullied a lot as well. I remember after my parents broke up, we moved and I went to this tiny, tiny school, little primary school in England, and it was very much it was a little perfect village where it was, and it was almost stuck in time. It was 2.4 children. Everyone was blonde and white, and it was perfect. And I turned up, and I'm slightly colored, different colored skin. My father's got a different ancestry. Um, and the headmaster announces my first day and goes, "Here's Jack. Please be nice to him as he's got only got one parent,"
oof,
which is a great start.
oof,
So so I
wow.
look different. I've got a different background. I've got a single parent. You know, put a target on my back. Why don't you? So had less than fun time for 3 years there, but because of that experience, I know what it's like to have racial slurs thrown at me. I know what it's like to be physically beaten up at a young age. You know, and as much as one can try to empathize with someone, if you haven't been through it yourself, you've got limits naturally, completely natural. You know, if you have been through it yourself, not only do you empathize, but you can also go, I was there as well, and this is what I did. You can share your own journey, you can share your own mistakes, which we all have, but it gives you that drive to go, I want to help someone else who goes through that, and also prevent it from happening again.
Mm, okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's that's just, hey, here's Jack. Please be nice to him because he's just got one parent. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
What a
Oh,
beginning. Wow.
oh, it blows your mind to hear it now, right? You go, really? You did? Okay, well done. Great, great. That was
Yeah, like,
the
wow.
headmistress. She was in charge of the school. It was a small school, but well done. Well done.
Mm. Do you remember a moment where it started switching for you? Was it kind of like a more of a natural thing, like just kind of just somewhat happened, or do you remember like a moment where you're like, okay, I'm gonna start my healing journey, or like some moments when everything kind of seemed to start a shift?
It's a great question. I would say it's always been a bit of a journey. Um, I think from a professional sense, I started a coaching business on the side myself, which is it's very, very early infancy. I did that because the amount of people around me going, why not? Basically, this is your purpose, this is your drive. You want to help people.
Mm.
That should be your passion project. So go and do it effectively. The the core of who I am and supporting people and wanting to leave a legacy of helping people around me, that's always been there. And that's just been a journey to get to. And it's been a fine balance. Like I know I sound a bit like an oxymoron going, want to live the best life, sometimes selfishly, but I also want to help people. How does that balance out? Um, Weirdly, it does somehow, because my career has enabled me to facilitate doing the crazy journeys and doing the big trips and living life selfishly and whatnot. In that sense, and my career, I've always had an element more so with my new venture, and I hope more so with the career to come, of coaching, developing, supporting people. So they kind of go hand in hand, but I wouldn't say there's been one specific moment of going, cool, this is what I want to do. Um, I think we all have that journey in our lives, and what's becoming more evident is people go, I want to do this at 20, and at 30 go, I want to change. Cool, change.
Yeah,
At 40, change. 50, change. Why not?
yeah,
It's scary change, but it's becoming more acceptable.
yeah. Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'm looking at a question from a viewer who's listening now live. He said,
Mm.
"When you say you've been through a lot, how does that make you feel when someone else talks about it? Does it trigger you? How do you handle it?"
So I say that question again. When I've been through a lot, when I hear
when
someone
when
else
when you
saying,
s- yeah, when you say you've been through a lot and you hear somebody else talk about it, how do you feel, and does it trigger you? How do you handle it?
"Oh, does it trigger me?" That's the word I'm missing. Sorry. No,
Yes.
it doesn't trigger at all. Firstly, I feel I'm in a very privileged position for them to be, um, what's the word, trusting me with that information, and
Yeah.
for them to be open and vulnerable, for them to share that situation with me. So, firstly, that's a responsibility on my shoulders. Um, at that time, I'm not there for me; I'm there for them. It's
Yeah.
actually got. I mean, whilst my experience of whatever it might be my experiences, sorry, might be similar to what they're talking about. It's not my journey; it's theirs. I
Yeah.
can bring my experience as an example for them to use to help them, and be very open again about my mistakes in that, and go, before you go down this path of XYZ, I know what it's like because I did the same thing. This is also what I'd suggest you not to do, for
Yeah.
example. But no, it doesn't trigger me. Again, I'm in a place in my life where thankfully I'm the biggest challenges I've had in life, and I'm sure I'll have bigger ones to come. That's part of it. I'm in a really good place for, but like everybody, I need support. I've got
Yeah.
people close to me, whereas my wife or my really, really close friends, that when I have a down day, I pick up the phone and go, "Can I have a rant? Can I have a chat? Because go get your stuff out." So it's about that balance. We're not Superman. No one is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. I love that because I've gotten a similar, maybe a question, but I've doing this kind of work, even though it's not like I'm not specifically trying to target people who've been through massive trauma, right? But
Mm,
just being in the space of being a mental health professional, or working with people with their mental health, I've heard horrendous, like much worse than mine stories
mm,
and experiences and whatnot. And I've had people say like that must be like really awfully heavy for you, and how do you handle that, taking on all of that pressure and all of that trauma from other people? Like, does it not like trigger you or whatever, even if it's like similar to my journey, or something completely different or worse? And my
mm,
answer is like, not really, because I don't take it on, right?
mm,
I just kind of let it pass through. I hold the space for somebody to express it and work through it a little bit and share. And I love that you share, like, it's an honor to be
mm.
to create that safe space for somebody to be like, okay, I feel like I can express and I can share what I've been dealing with, what I've been going through. Because a lot of times these are like silent struggles, right? That people don't really talk about.
It's
And so
responsibility.
it's really an honor. And for me, like when I get, and you can share your experience as well, when I get into the space of like I'm listening to somebody or like share their heavy thing, like you said, like I'm not there basically at all. Like I just create the space
Hmm.
and I hold it for them, but I'm not taking it on for myself.
No, completely. You're absolutely right. I think there's different methods you can use for that. Some people can naturally do it and just go, I'm giving you the space, and I'm here to facilitate your journey more than anything else. Other people can do that just mentally.
Yeah.
Some people need to do it in a physical way as well. So, say, for example, if it's online coaching, if it's this sort of forum, they will have very much a designed workspace at home or an office, and that's their bubble where they work, and they can take it on in that space. But they know psychologically, the moment that door's closed and they're out the room, they're off the
Mm,
kitchen, dinner or whatever it might be. But it's gone, it's there. But if we are human, and if there is something that you do here that does hook in and you bring with you afterwards, it's that self-awareness, which again comes down to emotional intelligence, to recognize and go, you wake up the next day and you're still thinking about that conversation, to go, okay, that one's lingered more than anyone else has so far, for example. Maybe I should go and talk to someone about it, or talk to, a confidant or a mentor or a friend, and just go, I had a really tough conversation with someone. I won't name their name, but they have some really heavy stuff on me, and can I just talk it out, just get it out of the head more than anything
yeah.
else, or write it down if you're a journaler, write it down, rather than keeping it inside. But you're right, it's the responsibility of yourself in that situation to give them that space. It's not your problem effectively; it's theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point. And different people have different ways of dealing with it. It's always what definitely helps me is getting it out. If something gets stuck, um, I have like three things actually for overthinking or for being stuck in with any specific thoughts, or even if it's a big string of thoughts. Don't think and write. If that doesn't really help, then don't think and talk. And if that doesn't help or that is not an option, then don't think and move. So these three aspects have been like incredibly helpful for me in different situations. Specifically movement and writing have been two big ones for me. Yeah.
100%. And also, it's something we all fall the trap of. We spend so much energy on what might happen. I know,
Mm,
incredible. We spend literally 80% of our time or energy on something that might happen 20% of the time. And it's crazy the amount of what ifs and thinking about this conversation that might happen in this scenario, that I'm waiting for the phone call or waiting for this. And we all do it. We're all guilty of it. So it's also about being aware of that and how to manage that situation and go, okay, let's write down what I can control. If I can't control it, put it to one side, because I can't control it. I need to get it out of my head. But let's focus on the 4 or 5 things I can control. And let's write out those scenarios that are causing me anxiety or causing me stress. And then you've got them on paper and you go, okay, how manageable they are. And they're more than likely a bit more manageable because you just bite size them.
yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. How long have you been doing this work in this coaching slash mental health space?
So the coaching side of it has only been the last few months.
Okay.
Yeah, no, really, 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 really early on. So I mean, every role that I've had, as I mentioned, has had a sort of development and coaching element to the job. But
Mm-hmm.
launching my own venture, my own business, Glenn and Pete Coaching, it's only been the last couple of months, and it started, as I said earlier this year. I was laid off, made redundant from a previous role, and then which shook me a lot at the time, but enabled me to kind of step back and reset and refocus. I started working on a couple of different platforms with some coaching, and then and going on a couple of podcasts, and lots of people going, "Cool. Well, what's your business now?" Well, it's just me. I'm on this platform and on this platform, and just got confusing. So they're like, "Well, just do your own." Okay, that's actually a really good point. I should do my own. So that's what I've done.
Hey, amazing. All right. Well, congrats and welcome to the independent business space.
Thank you.
It's
That in itself,
sometimes
it's a challenge, right? Because you're putting yourself out there. You talk about doing a podcast, which you're doing now, and everyone I do a podcast with, I've got so much time and respect for because it's another element of putting yourself out there. It's like applying for a job. You're putting your resume or putting your face or your name or your voice out there and hoping for a positive response. You do everything you can, you might get nothing. So you're constantly dealing with that sense of potential rejection. So it's not
yeah.
without, as you said at the start, challenges, but it's part of the journey, right?
In in the online world, especially in the beginnings, it's all rejections. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and not to be like pessimistic or negative about it. It's a part of the journey, and you kind of have to go through it. I think I might have maybe this is like a self bias because I know everybody goes through it. I might personally have had it like a little bit more rough than um other people because when I was starting my coaching business and I started making videos about coaching and offering my coaching services, I was 20 years old. So I
Right.
had like a big wave and big groups of people. You're a kid, you don't know anything about life. How dare you try and give somebody life advice? Blah blah blah, right? I had a lot of that aspect. However, so they attacked my age. However, what
Mm,
happens is like people like this, they won't care what they can attack. Like they will attack something, right?
yeah.
Like for me, in my case, it might have been my age. For other people, it might be something completely different. But like there will be something that people will start to attack. So that's one thing. But also, like you said, it's like about the rejection. Like you go on podcasts and you make videos and you do all this, and then there's nothing,
Nothing.
crickets,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And it feels like and so being able to deal with that and just like okay, well, I just have to do it more and more and get really good at it. Um, and just put it out there consistently and be on as many of the podcasts as you can and make as many of the videos and get really good at it. Try and have those conversations. In the
Mm.
beginning, it's very quiet, very, 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 very quiet. And I think it's more quiet than people expect a lot of the times.
I think it takes. I mean, I've only doing it a few months, and it's still relatively quiet. If I'm honest, I've got
Yeah,
a couple of here and there, but I've said to people, they're being, oh, you'll be this in no time. Like, no, 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 it's going to take months or years. Let's
yeah,
be honest, it's a huge space, and there's always you have to have temper that level of expectation within yourself, but also with other people. Again, it's got that. You know, people closest to you see, oh, you're doing this, you're so busy. I'm like, yeah, it's going so well. I'm like, depends on the metric. Some things that are going really well, some things that can definitely be better. But again,
yeah.
nothing's built overnight.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like, especially when people are getting started online, because I tend to have a lot of conversations there, and I have some clients on that sense. These days, it's so full of, or the internet is so full of these overpromised courses or
Yeah,
gurus. So, like, a lot of people come in with the expectation of like, it just takes 2 months to make thousands of dollars, or like, and it
so
really doesn't. And
there's so
so,
many. They're so fake, and um, yeah. When I get since doing this, because probably I get tagged because of what I'm searching, what I'm doing, but I get so many adverts for every overhyped alpha male, mostly guru, guaranteeing you, 7 figures in 6 months, or
yeah,
the 6 steps to success, to guarantee you success. And I'm like, you're not dealing with the people. You're not dealing with the people, and it's just a money grab. And
yeah.
I would much rather be authentic to who I am and to what I believe in and my approach than scam people, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. It's I say it's I think it's a little bit slower if you do it this way, if you don't try and overpromise and
Mm.
you manage you help people manage their expectations. But I mean, so it takes longer, but you get more quality people and you build something that's more like sustainable. It's real, not something that's a money grab and then you have to change or run away because people hate you. Yeah.
Yeah, integrity is extremely important to me. I've
Yeah.
got too much. moral fiber. I think that my mum built into me at a very, very
Yeah.
young age to really be able, again, this is a passion. I don't get why. If you're doing it as a passion, why would you turn it into something that's sordid and wrong
Yeah.
and immoral,
Yeah.
and lying about it? If people want to go and do that because that's their MO, then it's not their passion. They just want to get rich quick and take
Yeah.
advantage of other people, and that's their prerogative. But not for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the biggest difference or the biggest um focus, I think, should be, because on the outside, no matter what you do, you will always have haters. Like, you could be the most authentic, the best person ever, you can have clear marketing, you can have amazing offers, you can really help people. If you get big enough, even if you don't get big enough, you will just have haters. Like, there will be people who don't understand, who judge you, whatever. I think the key or the point or the focus should be not to not have haters at all, but not have haters who have worked with you, or who've paid you, who've bought your program, who've bought your course, who joined your community, who went to your workshop. Right? Like, if you have people who complain, who are like who've paid for your program, and they're like, this, you're an awful person for charging for it. Like, that's where you should be like,
Yeah,
okay, this is not good. If people are hating on
absolutely.
your public video, that's fine.
It's authenticity, and you know, part of my journey has definitely been redefining what I see as success.
Mm,
And I look within for my own success now more than outside. Everyone likes applause. Don't get me wrong. Everyone likes being told well done and you've done a good job or thank you. No one's ever going to turn that down, but it shouldn't necessarily be a yardstick.
yeah.
For me, I know that if I'm working with people, they know they're going to get 100% from me, and they're going to get me fully invested in their journey, and I'll do my absolute utmost to help them through that and to a successful result. And if it's not a successful result, then I haven't finished my job yet, and it's that simple.
Mm,
So, yeah, I completely agree. If you've got clients that have gone away and are displeased, then you manage that situation. You don't want it to get to a point where they're online tapping away, because then you haven't done your job right. So I put that on my shoulders 100%. And
yeah.
if there's people out there that listen to a podcast that I'm on and didn't like something I say, then I never had on any podcast to cause an offence. And if they've got a challenge, please feel free to DM me directly, and I'll openly have a good conversation with them.
Yeah.
But if they're people who just want to hate for hate's sake, then that's their choice too.
Yeah. Some people will just hate and hate, and that's fine. Um, maybe it helps them feel better. They help with engagement for us, though. Okay, to shift gears a little bit, um,
Oh yes,
I I really I'm really looking forward to hearing about your crazier or wild travel experiences, something like that. But before we get into that, who do you work with now, and who should be reaching out to you, and where can they find you?
great question. A mixture of people. So really, my focus is on two specific areas: definitely career development, and leadership. So, especially a lot of people right now going through career transitions, looking at their careers differently, post COVID still, people are being made redundant. People are looking for a different path in their careers, whether it's been enforced on them or it's their own choice. So that's a myriad of ages for one. It doesn't matter your age, your location. It's online, so it's no, doesn't matter location either. And the other one is leadership,
Mm,
and focusing on leaders that really want to grow, and this is defined towards the leaders that have got experience. But where I'm finding more traction is with new leaders, and which is
mm,
brilliant to see because they're the ones that should be wanting to learn. And often people are put into their first leadership position not because they're best at leading, but they're best at that specific area of business. So they might be the best at finance or logistics or sales or whatever it might be. The best person in sales, right? Well, we need a leader in the sales team. Cool, let's give that to them. They haven't got any leadership skills yet. So they need that foundation, and often organizations aren't the ones to give it to them off the bat. And that's where I can support, and give them those foundations, talk to them about emotional intelligence, how to deal with conflict resolution and conflict management, because they're not taught these skills and they come across them so quickly. and it's a shock.
Yeah.
They're a deer in the headlights. So those two main areas, I would say.
Okay. Amazing. Wonderful. Where can people find you? Do you operate mostly on Facebook or LinkedIn or?
Great question. So there's a couple of different ways people can find me. Firstly, I've got the website is a great way to send messages, send a message direct or contact me. So that's glennonpc.com. Also, there's a blog which you can sign up to, which I'll send you an example of next week. But what I offer is a free 30-minute session,
Yeah.
which they can book through the website. So that gives them literally an opportunity to have a chat with me online for 30 minutes, and I tell them what I think of the situation, what I think we could do, what we could input as a plan, and they can take it or leave it. And it's just very, very easy, very, very low, no, zero stress, zero pressure on them. So that's one way. Also, the Instagram account. Again, that's Glennon PC. I run that myself. So again, any direct messages come straight to me. And what I try and do that is try and make it a bit more interactive. So once a week, I put out a story, actually today on a Wednesday, where I go, guys, if you've got any questions or you've got a challenge, flip me a DM and then I'll write about it. I'll write a post. I had
Okay.
someone, for example, send me a message going, my boss is being a real micromanager. So I was like, cool, I'll do a post on it and I'll write one for you this week. So they got a bit of an answer. So that's good growth for them. So those for the
Okay.
business, those are the two ways. I'm also on LinkedIn, but probably those two best ways we use.
Okay. I love that. I love the interactive part. That's really awesome.
Mm,
All right. You can send it to me also afterwards in chat. I'll tag it in the description. And then
absolutely.
when I post this on Spotify, it will be in the notes as well. So, what was your wildest travel experience? What did you do?
There's been a few. Um, I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. That's
Nice.
the that's one of the hot. That's not the. It's quite extreme, I guess, but that wasn't what I would call extreme. It was the most challenging physically or mentally,
Mm.
and it was unbelievable. I'd recommend anyone to do it. A friend of mine and I, in January 2020, we took a tuk-tuk from the northwest part of India, and in a race, we drove it the full length of India to the southwest corner, which took us about
Wow.
just about 2 weeks. So it was just me and him and a tuk-tuk and a map
Wow.
and a compass. Um, so that was an adventure and one I'd recommend to
Nice.
anybody.
Wouldn't?
That was that.
You would not.
I would. Oh, I would.
Oh,
Yeah,
you would.
amazing.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yes,
okay. I was like, really?
definitely. Definitely. The food, the street food was sensational. And the people were just so kind and so welcoming, and the best chai tea you can ever imagine. A couple of others, years and years ago, I ran with the Bulls in Pamplona. So I did that when I was in my early 20s, I think, off the top of my head. And probably the wildest was one of my first major trips when I left the UK, kind of the first time I went to travel the world, if you like. I ended up in Thailand and I got caught up, and this must have been 2010, so it's nearly 15 years now. At the time, there was a civil war starting to break out in Thailand, and what were called the red shirts. I don't know, and anyone listening might remember this. But basically, I got caught and stuck in Bangkok in the red
Mm.
shirt protests, and there was a family there that I got to know, and they were unbelievably kind and welcoming. But the short version is I ended up getting shot at by the army whilst I was
Ooh.
there, which was definitely an experience that stuck with me. And after that, directly I was deported from Bangkok to from via Shanghai, sorry, to the UK, where I remember catching up with a few friends of mine, and they were all talking about the local darts match or pool match or whatever it was, complaining, and I was going, a week ago, I was there, that was happening, and it was you talk about light bulb moment to go, I've done that, and they've
Yeah.
stayed there, and experiences have changed. So that was a big moment, but that was, in terms of adventure, yeah, that would have been up there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's definitely up there. Phew.
That one was
Yeah.
unintentional in my defense. I wasn't planning to get shot at. The
Well,
others were intentional.
right. I mean, yeah. I don't think you just flew into Bangkok, be like, you know what? On this trip, I'm gonna. Yeah,
No, the others were intentional. The others
Bangkok
were
can be
intentional.
very intense. Bangkok can be
Yes.
very intense by
I was
itself.
the first time I was there for Songkran. And anyone doesn't know, Songkran is Thai New Year, where they have a huge water fight for basically 5 days, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's crazy. But it's definitely it's an assault on the senses. I was there when I was quite young, and it was like, wow, okay, this is going on. But
Yeah,
you learn.
Bangkok itself is a lot, but being in a protest and getting shot at, that's that's a whole new extreme. I mean, damn. Okay.
It was.
Yeah, but the water fights are great. I haven't experienced one in Bangkok, but we did one in Cambodia. They do a very similar thing.
I love
They were
Cambodia.
like they were um water trucks, like
Yeah.
fire trucks spraying people with like the water cannons that they use to extinguish buildings, and they're like spraying people down on the square. I'm like, that's wild.
I've said I loved my time in Cambodia. I thought the food was actually better than it was in Thailand. I
Okay.
remember there was a dish. I can't really remember this. I'm talking 15 odd years ago, but there was a Cambodian curry called chicken amok. It was a beautiful, like, I swear it was yellow, but it was a beautiful coconut-based curry. It was gorgeous. I remember it. For some reason, I remember that really clearly. Having that in Sihanoukville, I think it was.
Okay. I well, I think one of the craziest ones that I did was driving half across Vietnam solo on a motorbike without ever driving a motorbike before.
That's where I learned how to drive a motorbike. Was Vietnam.
Yeah,
It's the best place to
yeah,
learn.
yeah.
I didn't drive the
Vietnam
whole
is the
pathway.
place to
That's
learn.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It was really awesome. I did 3 days and I drove like 8 hours a day for
Oof.
3 days. Um, it was the from northern parts down to the mid where I'm at now. But this was last year. It was really awesome. It was really awesome. Really really scary. And I remember my friend. I was already driving for like 7 hours the first day, or maybe 6 hours the first day. I was almost done with the first day, and I'm having a little bit of a break. And my friend sent me an article like how to stay safe on Vietnamese roads when you're driving on a motorbike. And first thing was, under any circumstances, avoid this main road. Like, this is the deadliest road in Southeast Asia. And I'm looking on the map. I'm like, I've been driving on this one for 6 hours. It's
I
fine,
think
you
what
know.
I found, the trick with the trick in driving a motorbike in Thailand and also sorry, not Thailand and Cambodia, actually all Southeast Asia, is keep
All
going
of it.
straight. It's keep going straight. Don't deviate. It's like it flows like water, especially in the
Yeah.
city like Ho Chi Minh. It flows like water. So you just
Oh
trust it.
my god.
It's very weird, but you do just you go with literally go with the flow.
Yeah, like that one. I will still be very scared. I've lived in Vietnam a bunch of months now, and almost half a year, a little, yeah, almost half a year,
Mm.
little over half a year total. But in a place like Ho Chi Minh City or like downtown Hanoi, I would still be like very much like, oh, scared. Like, what do I do? I'm in Da Nang now, which is
Hmm.
also like
Yeah,
one of the
I've been.
biggest cities.
Yeah.
Amazing! Oh my God, really amazing. And it's much easier to drive here. It's still, it still gets pretty crazy in some places, but not Ho Chi Minh City kind of crazy.
No, I bet. No, I mean, driving a tuk-tuk in India, we
Yeah.
tried to stay rural and to stay away from the cities, but we made one mistake, pretty major one, and we ended up going straight through a major city. I think it was on the second day or anything as we are coming down south. And yeah, there was moments of real fear there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I can I can kind of imagine. But yeah, India is one of those. It seems very intimidating like from the outside. I've heard.
Mm,
Hmm. Have I heard anything bad about India? No, actually, I've heard only good things from people who've actually traveled there and people who've actually gone. I've heard
I think it might depend
only
on where you
good
go.
things.
I think it might depend on where you go. I mean, New Delhi, I flew straight into New Delhi and then had to fly up to Rajasthan. New Delhi, I wasn't a fan of. New Delhi was, I think, it's like a lot of countries, especially Asian and South Asian countries. This capital city's not necessarily the greatest. It's when you get out that it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I found the same. I found New Delhi very intense and very not particularly enjoyable. But the moment I got out and went to Rajasthan and went down south and went to the rural
Mm,
places, just the most amazing moments
mm.
and
That's a good
people as well.
point. That's a good point. The big cities are generally tough, tough
Yeah,
and
I
stressful.
say the same thing. I say the same thing about Thailand. I don't. Bangkok's Bangkok. It's not Thailand. Same thing like even somewhere Western like France.
Yeah,
Paris isn't France. Paris is Paris. France is completely different to Paris. The
yeah,
people are different. The culture's different. It's night and day. Um,
yeah.
and I think the same thing for other places too.
One of the big cities that I really enjoyed that was like really chilled and relaxed was Kuala Lumpur actually in Malaysia. It was very nice.
Hmm.
Very, very
Yeah, I've
nice.
heard
It felt more relaxed, it felt more
hmm.
friendly, and yeah. So that one we enjoyed quite a lot.
Yeah, I've heard good
Sometimes
things
hotel
about
experiences. What's
there.
what's next for you? What's your big vision? What's your big goal for the next few years?
To a certain degree, because there's been a bit of a shift in my mindset this year, I think it probably used to be I want to grow my career and and go up and up and up and up. And it's certainly not that anymore. I've got this passion business which I want to continue to nurse and grow, but slowly, organically, um, and sustainably as well. And I mean that from a business point of view, but also my own self point of view. I want to find the right place for my career away from that business as well, because I want that to kind of go on in the background
Okay,
with the right people as well, which will come in time. But with my career, how I now view that is that's there to facilitate the rest of my life.
mm,
I've got so many different places I want to go and travel and hike and climb. And I used to be a scuba diving instructor, so diving is very important to me as well. And go diving and see these places and see, try new foods and experiences, and live as full life as I possibly can. That's always been my mantra, and I feel I've dropped the ball on that one the last few years, definitely. So I want
mm,
to get back to that. And so both my current coaching business and whatever career I end up having in the meantime, whilst I need them to add different levels of value, I need to add value to them. They're there to facilitate living the best life.
yeah, awesome. Definitely, I would say try and look for a remote job for yourself. Try and find a remote job for yourself. Sounds like it's very fitting while you
Yeah,
grow your business.
very much so. I think that's about that balance, isn't it? I'm not someone who probably will thrive. I haven't worked. I've worked from home pretty much since before COVID. So to go
Mm,
back into an office environment isn't somewhere that I would probably want to do.
mm,
And I talk to people now when they're talking about their careers and going, okay, well, what do I want to do next? And I advise everyone, I went, work on your non-negotiables. Work on things that you are not willing to shift on because they're so vital to your well-being, your happiness, your family, whatever that might be. And one of those is your working environment. Some people need to work in an office because they need to have that presence around them and that buzz and that contact,
yeah.
which is great. Other people don't. Other people actually need the opposite. I've worked in a hybrid environment, and I know 9 times out of 10, I got 100 times more done when I was at home than I was in the office,
Okay.
because you got distracted from everything all the time. It was, let's grab a coffee, or how was your weekend? And whereas working from home, I'm in my own bubble. I can take a call. I've got a meeting in 5 minutes. That's fine. I can get that done in 5 minutes. You're more focused, I find.
Mm,
Uh,
okay.
but I always found I put certain boundaries in place when I worked from home. When I work, like now do is still when I work from home, and I still when I go to work, I still put a shirt on. I still put trousers on, and it's almost like putting a uniform on to help get in
Yeah.
that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never in any when I've ever worked from home in any context, I've never worked on the sofa. Because that's just
Yeah.
I think it's just such a dangerous path to go into. So yeah, I do agree with you. Those non-negotiables of whether it's working from home for me, and that balance at least, it's where you're going to thrive the most. That's so important.
Mm. For me, it's definitely variety. Like I I've been a nomad, working remotely on my own business for the past 2.5 years now, full time. And what one thing I love probably the most is really like the variety of like daily life, but also like variety on a more longer term. What I mean is like some days I work from home. Some days I go to a coffee shop. Some days I go to a co-working space.
Mm.
Some days I go to this, right? Sometimes I have in-person meetings. Sometimes I have online meetings. Sometimes I have online events. Sometimes I have in-person events. Sometimes I'm in Asia. Other times I was in the US. I was in Mexico. Sometimes I'm in Europe, in different cities, different places, different apartments. Sometimes we lived in a very tiny bungalow in the middle of nowhere in Cambodia, like
Yeah.
right at the edge of a jungle where it was like dirt roads, like it wasn't even paved roads. It was
Mm.
dirt roads. And then other times we lived like in Kuala Lumpur in a luxury apartment where you have a pool and a gym right in the building. And so the contrast is so huge in a lot of and the variety is just so amazing. And that's what I really thrive on. It's like one month I have this tiny little bungalow studio little apartment where we barely fit in as two people, and then other times we have like this big house with three other people who are living in it, and then other times we have this luxury apartment, and it always like it's so fluid, and I absolutely love that. So you got to
Well,
find
they
your
say
own.
variety's the spice of life, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But some people need more stability, right? Like some people need more just like I want to have my own space. I want to
Mm.
have my own workplace. Every day is the same. This is every day is the same. This is every day is the same. And that's how a lot of people thrive. And they have the variety in different ways. I love
Absolutely.
variety in like all possible kinds of variety. I'll take it. Like, I don't.
You're right though. Everyone's different, and it's about what everyone's best form of thriving is. Whether it is I
Yeah.
need a 9 to 5 so I can thrive outside that 9 to 5. Great, okay, that's what you need. There's no right or wrong. I think I've spoken a few times about this. I think especially with social media, people are pushed to think a certain way so much at the nowadays. You must be better today than you were yesterday, otherwise you're a bad person. Well, actually, there's certain days we just need to stop and breathe. But you must want to do this. You must want to work in an office. You must want to work from home. Otherwise, you're a bad person. No, there's no right or wrong with what's true to you and your value. In your career, in your work life, if that's what your passion is, go after it.
Yeah. Absolutely. First, I would say figure it out because a lot of people, if you feel lost, go figure
Mm,
it out. Like and try different things, and then
yeah.
I like this. I really like this. I really don't like this. All right, perfect. Go and do that. Go and do the thing that you like. All right, amazing. Would you have any closing remarks or something to leave people with?
I generally leave with two bits of advice. One that it's not mine, and one that was advice that was given me to a very, very young age, so I will take now as mine. One I saw an interview not too long ago, actually, with Gordon Ramsay. It was a brilliant interview. I recommend anyone to find if they can. And he spoke a lot about adversity, and how adversity, you grow more through adversity than any other time. And I'm a big advocate of this. But he talked a lot about, the sooner you're given that tough hand in life, the better, because it gets you in that mindset of resilience of being able to overcome these things and grow and take them as opportunities. And he gave a great saying, which was, never be afraid of the storm, get comfortable dancing in the rain. And I thought that was brilliant. I just love
Mm,
that image. Just going, no, no, this storm's coming. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
I love that.
Because it will pass at the same time. So there's that one that I'll happily give, and the other one, which is quite close to my heart, um, is we're all on a journey, and it comes with ups and comes with downs. And in our lowest of moments, when we're really struggling, have a look up, have a look up, and have a look around, and see who are the people that have stepped up and stepped forward, and who are there for you throughout
Mm,
this time, and who are there for you at the end of your challenging period. They are the best reflection of who you truly are as a person. So even if your
Mm,
lowest of moments, look at them and know that you're going to be okay.
wonderful. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for doing this and sharing
My
your
pleasure.
wisdom and sharing your journey. I'm looking forward to staying in touch, to being connected,
Yes.
and following your journey as well. And yeah, that's it. Bye,
Thank
everybody.